At last, it's time for the final episode. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are on our last round of the first chapter's gauntlet, which I've been calling this to make it sound like it's a lot more exciting than it is, but where I'm reading the first chapter of some books. I had a total of 20. I've done 5 for each episode. Reading the first chapter, deciding if this is, I'm really into this, I want to bump this up. I don't know about this, or this is not going to be for me probably, and I'm going to unhaul. It's of course hard to judge after the first chapter. These are all, though, things that I've either had for a really long time, I didn't really know a whole lot about, and none of them are anything that before making this video I had any intentions of getting to anytime soon. So, in order to make space, here we are. So let's jump in with no further ado and try these ones out. We have today The Bard's Blade by Brian D. Anderson. We have Battle Mage by Stephen Arian. We have Riddle Master. This is a trilogy by Patricia McKillop. We have A Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martin. And we have The Unremembered by Peter Aurelian. Alright, so we're going to jump into each of these. Now most of these I really don't know a whole lot about. This one I've gotten somewhat recently, I think, meaning it might have been this year, maybe. This is, I remember it's something about like there's strangers that come in and to a sealed off area or something. We'll see if the first chapter reminds me, but that's like the little bit I remember. First, let's look to see for a map, and we do have a quite nice map here. I like the double page look there, so that's pretty interesting looking. So let's try out the first chapter. Alright, so the first chapter really gave me nothing here, because I did end up reading the back of the book to refresh myself after the first chapter, because I'm like, what is, like, make sure I wasn't forgetting. So it is, there's like the land they're in is magically sealed, but a stranger comes in and delivers a prophecy, and then the two characters, Mariah, I'm assuming is the pronunciation, and then the bard that she is in love with, Lem, some stuff's going to happen, or they're going to have to go off and do stuff. So the first chapter is really just kind of establishing her and the relationship and the setting a little bit. It ends with what's going on. There's some stranger here, and then we don't find anything out. So I mean, it didn't pull me in or not pull me in. It's just this is one I'm gonna have to at least try probably a few more chapters to make a decision, because the hook is still there from the back of the book, and that's what the first chapter left me on. So I don't know. I was tempted to read a little bit more and decide, but this is just first chapter, so maybe I'll give that one a shot soon to try it. But yeah, I can't really make a decision based on that, because it's basically the first chapters just gave me what's, you already kind of know from the back of the book. So we'll see. All right, next up is Battle Mage, and I really know nothing about this, although I'm not sure how I feel about this, because I've been a bit hit or miss on Stephen Arian so far. I really liked the Warrior, really hated the the Coward. I really liked the Coward, and I really hated the Warrior. That's what it was. And so I have this new book too. This is an older one though, and the first of a series that I picked up at some point. And so I figured I'd give this one a shot and see where I feel, and if I think it's going to be something that I'm interested in or not. So let's give it a shot. So I totally forgot to actually look for a map before I gave the little thing that was start. There is no map though, so I just ended up like, okay, well, I forgot to say that, but I'll just keep reading. So Battle Mage. Now this is an interesting start to a book here. So we have our character Vargas, and he is tracking down some bandits who had killed somebody in a village, and kind of comes up to them at their own fire, says he's just a traveler, ends up like drugging them and then fighting them off to basically punish them. And there's also there's this talk of the legend of the Gath, which is apparently him, and is supposed to be this like fearsome warrior who, takes vengeance for people or something. But all of this within just, once again, the first chapter. So then after he does this and he goes back to the village, it sounds like there's something where like he is sustained by fear and or fame, and with the legend of the Gath that he created not being really known or believed in anymore, he has to go off and try to do something else to sustain himself. Basically, it sounds like he's quite old, although he doesn't look it, and so he's going to be going off to war, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on. I have a lot of questions, but this pulled me in very, very quickly. So this one hopefully will be in the winner category for my hit or miss Steven Arian, but most certainly will be keeping this one and giving this a read because that was really, really interesting and very much pulled in. All right, so next up, we have Riddle Master. I am going to remember to check for a map this time. And this is, I think, an older book, older trilogy, and this bind-up, which this bind-up itself is kind of old, so I'll have to look here, but we do have a map here. And so this is just something I got. It's a World Fantasy Award winner, the author, and I like to try out older stuff like this, so I figured we'll give it a shot, so let's do it. So, this, I was looking afterwards, so I was curious how old. So this edition was published in 1999, but it looks like the books themselves are from, like, the mid-70s. And it definitely feels like it. This is just, as I was reading, the writing style just felt very different to me, and it just was something I was really struggling to, like, get myself to keep reading. It's... like I don't even fully know what's happening. There's like some nobles that are fighting because this princess went and did a riddle competition with a ghost and won a crown, but like the way that these people are interacting and like what's being set up, it was just so strange. I could not get into this at all, and so this is gonna be an unhaul for me. I'd be curious. I don't know if this is one that like people read and have loved for many, many years. I mean, it's a series that's been out for I mean, at this point, it's nearly 50 years, it seems, based on the timeline. So I imagine there are people who enjoy this, but it feels very like aged in the style, and it's just sometimes that'll work for me. This one, unfortunately, did not. I just could not get into this one, unfortunately. Let's go, though, to the next one, which is quite different, because this is very much sci-fi. In memory, called Empire, Arcady Martin. And let's see if there's a map, I guess. I don't know if there would be for this, because I think this is supposed to be a space opera. So probably not. And no, it does not. We do have looks like a prelude and a first chapter. So let's give it a shot. So the prelude ended up being kind of like setting up some world building. But then the first chapter is super interesting because we have a character who is the new ambassador for this. All of these words seem so hard to mispronounce, but it's like Texacalan, I think is what we have here, Texacalan. And we have Mahit, or Mahit is the name. And they're going to replace the ambassador in this place because something has happened, and they're implanted basically with like a bit of his consciousness, because that's a thing that's done to keep knowledge, and so like it's supposed to combine basically with her so that she'll just instinctually know the things that he knew, but there's all this stuff about how the current record is 15 years out of date and they don't really know, and then this empire is just like a huge hub, it sounds like, of culture and everything as well, but there's potentially some unrest. So a lot of interesting concepts. It seems like this is going to have a lot of politics in it. So it'll be like space politics and space opera kind of thing. So I was feeling kind of lukewarm on this, but I think that's because this is absolutely not a book I'm in the mood to read right now. But I'm definitely curious, and I feel like if I'm in the mood for it, I might really, really enjoy this one. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and keep this one. It just was, as I was reading this, I'm like, I'm interested, but I'm like, I am not in the right mindset and mood for that kind of read. So that's definitely one that I will check out later. And so I'm definitely not going to read it probably now or this year. But it's something that I do think I actually would enjoy. So I'm going to keep it and just chalk it up to mood. And finally, we have The Unremembered by Peter Aurelian. I have had this one for years. I've just never gotten to it. I think, honestly, I think this was an author that Brandon Sanderson mentioned many years ago, and then I just randomly came across this in like a used bookstore, and so decided to pick it up. It's supposed to be epic fantasy, but I don't really know anything else about it, because I've just for some reason never gotten to it. I even have the second book somewhere around here. but I still haven't read this. So we're going to give this a shot, but we're going to check for a map first. I feel like it's likely there will be a map. And this is sort of small, but we do definitely have a full map. This is why I don't like mass market paperbacks, especially for chunky books like this, because this is a long book. This is over 900 pages, and I just realized, dang. But let's give the first chapter anyway a look here. So this did have a prologue and a first chapter. And it's definitely very, very high fantasy, but the prologue basically, I was setting up there's this council of people who they create worlds, and they create life and create everything, and it's the one of them that is in charge for basically like the negative things to balance out whether it's human emotions or animals or danger. Basically they're in charge of that to make sure that there is balance. They've gotten a little bit too into it, and so they're being called into question by this council, and there's this whole thing, and then they banish him onto this world. They just cut down creating in the area where all the like evil creatures he made are, and there's supposed to be a veil or something that keeps him confined there. So I mean, it's done with a lot of high fantasy words and terms, but I mean, just kind of, a Lucifer situation. He's like the fallen angel or whatever, and he's banished, or you want to look at it as the Dark Lord or the Dark One, whatever. Pretty common thing where like they were banished onto the earth, and that's where they are, and people are going to have to deal with it. It's not the most original there. But then the first chapter just seemed like it was trying to throw in as many kind of things as it could, different terms, information. So it came off kind of info dumpy. And once again, just it feels like it's trying to be a really high fantasy version and like just use different words and terms of just a really basic story, because our character Tan is I'm assuming that's the pronunciation. I don't know if that's right, but so he's like a young hunter. He's about to be coming of age at 18. His father died, and there were some mysterious things there, and a black cowled magical evil creature thing approaches him in the woods, and he thinks it tries to kill him. And he also has this like scar that he was told was a birthmark that he doesn't know anything about, but it seems is going to signify that he's some sort of chosen one or important in some way. And then they go back to the inn, and there's a mysterious stranger there, and they're gonna be involved somehow. And I'm just like, this just between it seems really blatant with Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings, and just a lot of other kind of classic fantasy things. I don't know if this is the type of book that's then going to just try and turn a lot of this on its head, but from what I read, just the amount of things it's trying to throw at me, it feels like it's trying to make this seem like this is some cool and original story, and it just seems like it's really just all it is just everything you've seen before that's become a trope kind of thing. So I don't know, maybe I'll regret this one, but I think this is probably going to go into the unhaul for me, because I just I didn't really find anything that pulled me in that seemed unique or interesting with this one. So unfortunately that's kind of where we're going to go with it. But that is the final one. So you're looking at this, it's been kind of mixed. I definitely have had some unhauls. I think I had 7 unhauls and 7 that I was really interested in. And then the other 6, yeah, it looks like I'm looking over off screen at my list here. The other 6 were ones that I'm kind of like, could go either way on, and wasn't really sure. One of which I think I actually read too. But so I've already read a couple of these that I was really interested in continuing. But yeah, so it seems like kind of mixed result. I had some that really stood out, some that didn't, some that I'm not sure on, and might need a little bit more trying or might end up getting an haul. But overall, I feel like this has been fairly successful. I found some books I'm really interested in, and started some too, and also found some to unhaul, some of which I had multiple books of. So overall, gives me books I'm excited to get to. Gives me some more space, and it just was nice kind of trying out some different things and seeing there. So hopefully this was enjoyable. It's likely I'll do something like this again in the future, although it's not normally something I do this many times in a row. But when I was reorganizing, I had everything ready, and I'm like, okay, these are ones that I'm going to try this for. And so it worked out pretty well. That is it for this one, though. Let me know your thoughts on any of these books. If you think I made a mistake, going either way. Always interested to hear if people know about or have different opinions on the things I tried, since obviously I'm just trying a small amount of them. But let me know in the comments. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Enclave Discord. If you want to chat books, whether any of these books, other books, really anything at all, it's a lot of fun. We'd love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.